Oh no, my video's been showing. This is the worst day. I'm fixing it right now, everyone. Stay with me. Cam. I got it. Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live at 11:59 a.m. on a Thursday, December 3rd. Do I have anything working today? All right, the second anyone joins, tell me if you can hear me. Tell me if you can see me, because if I get anything working today, I'm going to be impressed. Today's episode, along with all episodes, is sponsored by Change Angel, the non-custodial swap exchange for social good. Stop depositing on exchanges, not your keys, not your crypto. Bam! That's what it is. And that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin and crypto are around the edge, the cusp, the edge of glory. Something like that. Who's in the house? We got Dave, RR, reserve name Bear. Hey! Yeah, back. I got it working. I restarted the computer. Captain Weber in the house. Glenn McPhee, stuff in the house. Let's pop it over to the main screen and see what's going on today. Listen. The bottom line is the best way to describe my sentiment is that it happens. And then it happens quick. And then before you know it, it already happened. And with what's going on with the government, the legislation, the financials with the Fed and the Treasury, the pandemic, which is the worst it's ever been this year, 100,000 people in the hospital. If you look at the chart, it's a triple wave. Now, folks could downplay it as much as they want, and clearly 99.99% of people don't die. But what happens is the medical system is impacted, and that causes the healthcare staff to be depressed. It's miserable watching people die, and it's an absolute tragedy. And the problem is the vast majority of people. I'm starting this stream talking about the pandemic. The vast majority of people don't get infected and don't get sick, so therefore they think it's not a problem, and they're not thinking relative to the minority of people that are impacted by it. And this is just a classic example of human narcissism, where everyone thinks it's their own problems that are most important, and they don't really care about other people's problems. They don't care about the nurse that has worked 18 hours and watched three people die, and she's pretty depressed. They don't care about her because, 99% of people don't die. That's why they don't care about her. It's narcissism, guys. It's unfortunate, but it's going to really have an impact on the economy. And 14 to 18 million people are going to get eviction notices on January 1st, and they haven't. There's no bailout money. And what is bailout money? Because it ends up going into inflation anyway. If everyone gets $1,200 checks, it ends up getting inflated away in a couple years anyway. Is the metric. So what do we got on the screen? We got Circle and Visa, man. Um, we have let's go to my profile and so Drunken Miller was on Yahoo Finance, man. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. If you guys haven't seen it, you go to my stream and what I've posted. You got to hear him. And this is old school finance. This is old school money, guys. And this is the money that counts. This is big money. This is not, crypto money. This is not $50 million money. This is once he comes in, everyone comes in. Then this goes back to what I said at the beginning of the stream. When it happens, it's going to happen quick. Circle, Visa, Square, MicroStrategy, corporations, corporate treasuries, investors. Then you can have sovereigns and countries. Um, and Dan was talking about the U.S. dollar. This is what is this? The euro. So the DXY is pushing down. I can pull up the DXY chart, but here's the chart. I don't even need to because Dan shows the euro pushing up. That's a clear breakout. So the dollar is getting beaten down. So Raul was on Twitter earlier talking about that. His bet was wrong. Now bear in mind, and Brent and Raul and the dollar bull thesis, there it is, the most logical, well thought out thesis. Unfortunately, they were able to systematically print enough to somehow control these currencies. These quadrillion dollars worth of multiple quadrillion dollars, if you include the euro dollar, of debt around the world, and leverage and options and derivatives, and they were able to print enough to systematically devalue the dollar, and that's what they're doing. They're devaluing the dollar. The euro goes up because they're decreasing the value of the dollar systematically, which is interesting because gold and gold miners and they're going down pretty hard. So, I have in my long-term retirement accounts gold miners, bullion, silver miners, and I've lost thousands of dollars. But I'm going to hold it because those accounts are supposed to be long-term, 20-year accounts, and over time, we'll see, as Jim Rickard says, and a bunch of other gold bugs, it's $10, $15,000 an ounce gold. So, that's going to do the miners and streamers and gold itself. That's the bottom line. What's going on in the stream? Glenn says the stream sounds good. Bam! So this stuff. Thank you guys. Have you got time for a chain link chart check? You want Staff? Staff wants a chain link chart check. Take a look at chain link chart check. Chain link chart check. CCC. You guys are going to get a CCC. Looks like this chart looks like everything right now. Looks like, I mean, look at rent on the weekly. Why is it suspending? Ignore. Never suspend this domain. So look on the weekly. Here. It looks like everything, albeit was that the Stoke? Yeah. So look at the Stoke. It's completely oversold. It hasn't been this oversold since December 30th, 2019. And then you look at Ren, Stoke. It hasn't been this oversold since September 2019. I mean, it went straight up. It came back down, but it didn't go down all the way. This is a massive, massive gain, guys. Check it out. This is what I like to do. Price range right here. So this thing is up 200% from the last time it was oversold. So this is a nice bet. This is a great time for entry. Can it go down? Sure. Will it go down? You never know. But this is where entries are placed and bets are made. And if it goes down, you cut losses. And if it goes up, you're in the green. So Link looks good for the long term. I don't really want to get into the short term too much because, I mean, even from the short term, it probably looks decent. Just Link is such an incredible project from a fundamental perspective. But BNT BTC is what I've been looking at. I have a small position, 1,000 Bancor. Looks great from the long term perspective. It looks like everything else. over, I don't want to look at it because it has a history back to 2017, unlike Chainlink. Um, so completely oversold, coming out of oversold territory. This is very bullish, um, or at least indicative that appreciated price action is on the horizon. Note that the guppies never turn red. The guppies are gray, which means it's more so horizontal price action as compared to appreciative or depreciated price action. Note that since the beginning of the expansion this year in March, we are still up 209%, which is coincidentally exactly what Chainlink is still up. That's actually pretty impressive to see, considering how damn bearish the price action was. But it held on to 200% gains in 1 year's time. If you bought back in May, you're up 200%. Obviously, if you bought any time more recently, you're down 70%. But this is why you have to have these relative long-term time horizons for these crypto assets that appreciate significantly over time. That's the name of the game. Can we check on Kyber? KNCBTC, good old Kyber. Kyber's up big. So this is, look, it looks exactly like, Chainlink. This is an old asset too. Has its history. 2017. So check it out. Since the beginning of the pandemic, was that February? Here, some big candles. You're up. It's up more. All right, let's go from where it's last oversold. I mean, I guess it was here. This is a little bit of a messed up chart. If you go back to here, it's up 200%. So it's up big since August of 2019. But there was some seriously bearish price action. I'm not holding Kyber. I'm not holding it. And if I held it, I would hold a very small position, somewhere comparable to my Bancor position. I only have like 1,000 Bancor. Now, if it appreciates, great. I think, bear in mind, I have a liquidity position, so my position in Bancor is just not in Bancor. So, as folks have observed in recent Twitter messages, Bancor is hopefully a monetary stream. So, uh, by providing liquidity to the pools, you're going to get Bancor compensation, which should grow over time. So let's refresh this. I'll show you guys what I have. Bancor is a little slow to load. I want to look at Curve and Bitcoin. Never suspend this domain. Bancor? Still loading? All right. Chainlink chart check complete, Staff says. Now here's my position. So I have 1,000 Bancor, I have 5,000 DAI. This will be generating BNT because BNT, to my understanding, is going to have an elastic supply in that there's going to be an inflationary component. And based on recent commentary, I would strongly also encourage myself that there's a burn component. So it's not going to be elastic in that, like there's a rebase function like these recent Ampleforth and whatnot. But there's an inflationary component, and to compensate for the inflationary component, there'll be an admin fee, part of a transaction fee, which will be used to burn Bancor. And ultimately, which is very much like synthetics, that the locking rate, the rate in which synthetics is locked, is greater than its inflation rate. Thus, a huge amount has a massive lock rate. And overall, I would say that the protocol is deflationary because people are encouraged to lock, and that locking overwhelmingly compensates for the inflation rate. And the inflation rate will also cap out, I believe, at 2.5% in a matter of 2023, is it? I don't recall the particular number, but the point being, it's stable and it's growing and it's appreciating. And these are the types of monetary experiments that are going on in the crypto space. And they're very much experiments in monetary policy, much like countries do with their monetary policy. But I see this is great. Look at this. I'm getting 12% coverage, which means in 17 more days, I believe it's 30%, and then 90 full days. It was 100 full days. I get the 100% here. And permanent loss protection starts vesting immediately, but if oh, I can't. I won't get any protected value until the cliff is reached, and they want me to hold it for 100 days in order to get the full 100% coverage, I believe, or something like that. Point being, I have a position. It's a microscopic position relative to my portfolio, but it's a position nonetheless, and hopefully it's a source of yield and returns. Much like my current position, which I'm very excited for. We're going to start getting the admin fee. So I am aping. I'm using the ape tax. I take my curve yield and I roll it into YVECRV, which is going to produce 3 CRV tokens. And those 3 CRV tokens, I might zap over to the compound pool, which will obviously compound into more curve yield. I might do that. I think I'm going to do that. And I'm currently I borrowed the 5 grand for the DAI position in Bancor. Um, and I think I'm going to save up 2,500 so I have a capacity to liquidate my curve liquidity position and pay off all MakerDAO debt. So it's about 2,500 bucks. Get about 2 grand from the admin fees thus far. So all I need to do is save up another 500. So I might just zap my 3 curve over to compound until I'm able to compensate and fully have a liquidatable curve LP position to pay off my outstanding DAI debt without touching the Bancor position, which really needs to be locked for another 87 days. Anyway, that was a complex calculation. Suffice it to say, Curve is cool, Ape Tax is cool, MakerDAO is cool, Bancor is cool, Chainlink's cool, Kyber Network needs a little bit more bullishness. Something I'm not touching at the moment. Let's look at the curve, because curve has been killing it over the last day. 24 hours have been really bullish price action. This is up big. 357 to 429. That's 70 points on 357. That's 20% right there. That's a 20% rip to the upside right there. It's a big deal. And look at Bitcoin. I threw up a meme yesterday on Twitter of a pickaxe, a guy climbing a mountain with a pickaxe. That's what it's like. It broke to the upside of this relatively large multi-day symmetric triangle, and bam. Let me is it multi-day? December 1st? Yeah, 2 days. 2 days or so, but it broke to the upside, and it's a bit above the 200 EMA on the 15 min, 30 min. See, look, it broke, but this is resistance, and that's a little bit So it's clearly getting compressed above the 200 EMA and the 15 min. But look at this orange line. You guys know what orange line this is? This orange line is is this orange line? Is the second one? In fact, it's a little bit lower. Boop. Now let's go back to the 15 min and see where it is. See? So it went above it a little bit, but that's clearly acting as resistance. That was a massive resistance. And now it's acting as resistance again, but we're getting compressed because we also see support above the 200-day and the 15 min. And we're going to see how monetary policy and risk off and, the macro narrative for Bitcoin has the potential to break through that resistance, that previous multi-year resistance, and just overwhelm the supply and demand with bullishness, bullish sentiment. Once this breaks through, I think this is going to be an explosive move to the upside. Obviously, break through a little bit more. I would like to see it break through the top orange line, which it has not yet. Folks, this is why folks say that it did not really reach all-time highs, because until it breaks to the upside through the top orange line and throws up a retest, I'd like to see a retest, and then you could go with a higher high, and then you have real confirmation of a all-time high breakout, in my opinion. Until then, this thing is still flirting with the trend or the all-time high resistance, so to speak. Aave V2 was launched, boys and girls. Aave V2 was launched. That's a big deal. Curve is going to be front and center in Aave V2. And once Curve launches on Aave V2, that could create an incredible demand, because everyone's just going to throw their Curve in there, and now people have a capacity to use Curve as collateral. So this significantly reduces the sell pressure when Aave V2 launches CRV. It could be a stampede for Curve, and particularly not even to buy. Just it'll be fascinating, the dynamic that plays out. Um, Two things: either the buy pressure could just go through the roof, or the liquidity could go through the roof. People could just start throwing hundreds of millions of dollars into Curve, so they get the Curve emissions, which can then be locked in Aave. Whether there's yield or not, it doesn't really matter, because now you could use CRV to leverage a position. I believe Cream also provides, which is, don't underestimate Cream. Cream is everyone's working with Andre at this point in Yearn. Um, yeah, you could borrow Curve at seven. That's Y Curve. You could borrow Curve at 15%, and you get 3%. So Cream is given 3% Curve for 3% yield on Curve. How do you like that? That's interesting. Well, clearly it's much more, as of right now, lucrative to take your Curve, lock it for VE Curve, and get your admin fees, or YVE Curve and get your ape tax fees from the platform. One that's also contributing to a long-term revenue stream for yourself. But I think that everyone wants to explore different ways to use Curve, and I think this is good to see. But Curve on Aave, I think that's going to be a big deal, and a lot of folks in the Curve community are looking forward to that as well. Sora, Sora, and uh, what's the so it's obviously it's a substrate blockchain, a parachain uh, for Polkadot. Um, X was it XOM? I can't believe this is taking forever to load. All right, so PSwap is a token on XOR, the XOR blockchain, which is Soramitsu blockchain. So this is something to keep an eye on if you want to participate in it. Clearly, it's highly speculative, but if you provide Uniswap liquidity in the form of XOR and Ethereum, XOR is up thousands of percent this year. If you provide liquidity in any of these forms, you'll be entitled to PSwap token rewards. Um, and clearly, there's a lot of money gets thrown at these types of things, millions and millions of dollars. So the amount of P-swap you could get as compensation is probably going to be relatively small if you're coming at it from a small liquidity provider position. So it's not necessarily going to be that lucrative. But what I find fascinating is to understand what it's doing, why it's doing, how it's doing it. PolkaSwap is potentially a big deal. You're talking about like Uniswap for on the Polkadot network, but Polkadot is not just going to be Polkadot. The whole point of Polkadot, or at least the whole effort of Polkadot and the Cosmos community, is interoperability with basically Ethereum. If you don't have interoperability with Ethereum, it's just what's the point? So almost all efforts for all Polkadot parachains has been for aggressive interoperability with Ethereum. And that's the only way. Like Elrond has caught a little bit because it does have that interoperability component. And any other blockchain, smart contract blockchain that doesn't have this interoperability, or at least is pursuing it, is not really. They're not playing part of the system that's emerging, which is a system of blockchains of interoperability, and that's really like the narrative of Ren. Um, just cross interoperability between all chains, seamless interoperability. And if you don't have that and you're a blockchain that's trying to do it on your own, yeah, okay. Good luck disrupting the Goliath that Ethereum is. I don't think so. Um, all right. 12:21. A couple minutes left. There's a lot of stuff that I've covered, but it's a little late. Let's look over Keep for a second. So Rook's been doing well. Let's take a look at its current price. I think it was about 105 the last time I looked. 110. So this thing was at like 70 bucks yesterday. But it fluctuates. I've seen it at 120, 70, 80. Clearly, we've seen it at 2 and change of late. But this is very, very low liquidity asset, ladies and gentlemen. If anyone is trying to purchase this thing's going to fluctuate 20, 30% up and down. So I don't know. This is just something that I think is highly, highly speculative, which is not necessarily a good thing, depending on position sizing that you're considering and risk analysis and risk that you're willing to entertain. There's a lot of risk associated with the assets, extremely low supply and low market cap. You're talking about an $8 million market cap asset, but it's up 26 bucks in the last 26% in the last 24 hours. As we've talked about, this thing could easily go 100x to 10x, 10x to 100x in my opinion, and I've discussed why and how based on the fully diluted valuation, max circulating supply, and its current market cap. Could easily do 10 to 100x. That's just the name of the game. Man, its source of revenue is incredible. Let's take a look. We're at $2.55 million that it has generated in a month because of its strategy, its arbitrage strategy. Crazy, crazy. Let me reset this. 1 second. Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Bear with me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer anything, but otherwise, well, let's wrap up the stream potentially a little bit early. Octus is something to keep an eye on. They've been around for years at this point, but they've done a massive pivot into smart contract territory and DeFi automation. And also uh, Acropolis, keep an eye on them. So they obviously had a vulnerability in their pool like last month or so. But it's something to keep an eye on. But Octus as well. These are very small names, but they're very, I think, have a lot of potential. This is a derivative. This is a vault comparable to type of structure that Yearn is known for. And it produces yield from call options. And obviously, they're focusing on options as well, much like Hedgic. But there's so many assets I can't even remember the names of them all. But the point is this is a 3 CRV curve 3 pool. So this is the same asset that's emitted from VE curve admin fees, which you'll then get 15% on from call options. That's crazy. So the composability is of these modular platforms is absolutely crazy. Yeah, curve looks cool, Mark. A core. I don't have a core position, but I've seen it. This is the highly speculative, and this it reminds me of like let's find it here. I know where to find it. It reminds me of Statera, yeah. Reminds me of Statera, which is obviously done horribly. It's minus 30% in a market like this. But it's a deflationary asset where the supply is extremely restricted, if not decreasing. So this is really cool. If you look at the smart contract, you'll see that it actually every transaction burns Statera, STA. So this is actually highly deflationary, but it hasn't been appreciating. It's a financial experiment, and that's the deal. Even an incredibly deflationary asset isn't necessarily going to appreciate in value because it's still a financial experiment and it needs the popularity. But core is something comparable. I like the nostalgia. This is cool. Liquidity event. Lots of liquidity. I mean, it has a lot of liquidity. Core is quite popular. It's definitely not nothing. The question is, what's your risk appetite? Yeah, I wouldn't be putting 10 grand into something like this. I wouldn't be putting one. I'd probably put, if I played around with something like this, a 0.5% of my portfolio. But it's already inflated, man. This project's already in the millions. What do you think? You're gonna turn $500 into $50,000? I highly doubt it. So that's why it's a fun experiment. I dig the user interface. I dig the monetary policy that they've crafted, and it's clever, along with countless other projects. That this is the most important thing I can tell you all. Just because it's awesome doesn't mean you have to own it. You can appreciate it because it's really cool tech and some ingenious concepts that people are playing around with. Doesn't mean you have to own it, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't mean it's going to make you. It could be an opportunity. It could be a missed opportunity. All I know is there's 1,500 people that are collecting admin fees from Curve, or the planet Earth, and I sure as hell want to be one of them. So I'm going to provide liquidity. I'm going to increase my VE curve position and YVE curve position to maintain my proportional ownership of the admin fee. Because I think in the coming years, the admin fee is going to be worth billions and billions of dollars. I think Curve will be a systemic component of the future financial system as the crypto financial system, the DeFi space evolves. This is year one, guys. You realize this is year one? This is year one. You believe that? Can you believe that? Absolutely incredible. Um, Katon, Darwinia, I've heard of both of them. So here, this is the most important thing with regard to substrate parachains. Substrate parachains are a big deal. When you talk about Polkadot, it, I don't dig assets that are in Polkadot that push for Uniswap um, tokens because those are Ethereum assets. What the fuck is a Polkadot asset doing on Ethereum? No. If you're a Polkadot asset, you should be producing a substrate parachain, and this is where the substrate parachains you can see them. So obviously the reason you mentioned that and I mentioned this, so Darwinia is a real substrate parachain. It's a real deal. Plasm, I think, is one of the big ones. Plasm and Edgeware are big deal because that's smart contract on Polkadot. Polkadot, I think, is a big deal. Polkadot is Ethereum, Polkadot, and Cosmos, Atom. So Darwinia is cool. They have their own parachain and Kusama. So I think all this is quite interesting. Staffing and their staking concepts. Akala is going to be a big deal with their Ren integration. Um, Man, I got a fair amount of plasm. See how that plays out. But this is speculative. This is years off, guys. This is years. If you're even looking at this stuff, this is years away. But you know what's not years away? Bitcoin. You know it's not years away. Curve. You know it's not years away. Ren. There's a lot of assets that are not years away from potentially appreciating substantially. That's the name of the game. JE4KA, I have attended AB Bitcoin AMA today. You heard of it? ACBTC? No, I have not heard of it. It's a fork of Bitcoin. You wasted your time. If it's a fork of Bitcoin, you wasted your time. Noah Seidman, I know you'll love this. What do you got? Oh, yeah. Bancor will implement the admin fee. Nice one, JB Master. That's cool. Yeah, so if they have an admin fee, I did see this proposal. I was meaning to vote on it. So if they have an admin fee and the impermanent loss protection is basically satisfied by an inflationary aspect to the protocol, if you have an admin fee and you're able to counter the inflationary aspect of the protocol with a deflationary pressure, a burn component, that's a big deal. And I think that has a Kyber feel to it. I've told you guys this before. Kyber might have the best tokenomics in the entire crypto space. It has a burn component and incentivized supply disruption. That is a double whammy for price appreciation. Now, that doesn't mean the price has been appreciating. In fact, the price has been beaten up. But that doesn't mean the protocol properties are not conducive with substantial price appreciation. It just hasn't been appreciating. Why? I don't know. But that's unfortunate. Maybe it's just the volume of the platform as compared to like Curve and Uniswap. It's relatively small. But I think there's substantial potential for the platform in the future, and this Kyber is definitely something to keep an eye on, guys. Doesn't mean it's good to necessarily take a position in. Um, Ethbridge, what does that mean? ACBTC. Fine. ACBTC. Bitcoin and Ethereum. We already have Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's called the WBTC and RenBTC. What does that even mean? And then you have TBTC. Yeah, there's going to be 1,000 of these. And then you're going to have the government try and regulate it. Yeah, maybe it's good. I don't see any. Uh, there's always a new project. Just so if you're excited just because it's new, everything is new this year. The whole DeFi space is new this year. So don't get too excited about a new project. It's not the next big thing. I guarantee you ACBTC is not the next big thing because of the way disruptors work. Ongoing disruptions are never disrupted. Uh, and I've said it before. It took 20 years for Apple to disrupt Microsoft. And Apple still doesn't own Enterprise, whereas Microsoft still owns Enterprise. So it's not going to disrupt it. It's not going to disrupt. Lyft is not going to disrupt Uber. It's not going to disrupt Bitcoin. Polkadot and Cosmos are not going to disrupt Ethereum. Cardano is definitely not going to disrupt Ethereum. ACBTC is not going to disrupt TBTC, WBTC, or RenBTC. So that doesn't mean Cardano is a great investment. Probably, speculatively. Just because it's not going to disrupt the ongoing disruption doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good investment. So, nice mention, Mark. Nice mention. Just something to keep in mind that just because it's something new doesn't mean it's the next big thing. I wanted to look at what did I want to look at before we go? I don't know. Yeah, that's so yeah, Darwinia has the Ethereum bridge and it's working. Darwinia is a big deal. So this is the big deal. Anything that's on Polkadot needs to have a bridge. Needs to bridge to Ethereum. So yeah, I've known about the Darwinia bridge and they're doing fine. If you want and you want to speculate on Polkadot parachain substrate blockchains, you go here, subscan.io, anything here. These are going to be legitimate Polkadot substrate assets. They'll be real deal. This is the real deal Polkadot here, ladies and gentlemen, not no Ken or whatever that says they're on Polkadot, they're building on Riot Chain, and they got a whole bunch of ERC20 Ethereum assets. No, these are real deal Polkadot assets, substrate, parachain assets. So that's cool. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, 12:34 on a Thursday. I'm sorry about the 11:30. I'll try and be better. Always try and be better. Always try and better yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Smack those thumbs up buttons. Tell everyone to subscribe, and we'll be back on chat for a normal episode tomorrow, Friday, December 4th. So I thank you all for joining me. You all have a wonderful day now. Peace.